Good morning, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights Consulting here. Well, we're looking at the snowstorm in progress. It looks like probably the heaviest snow banding has moved through Vermont now at rates at some points probably at about 2, possibly 3 inches per hour. Fairly narrow, what we call mesoscale banding that's worked its way basically from south to north. Now, this is the HRRR model valid at 4 o'clock this morning, and you can see starting to see some consolidation of a coastal low here of this area of low pressure tracking across the southeastern portion of Massachusetts into the Gulf of Maine. A little bit further northern track is pushed strong, very strong gradient winds to form along the western slopes of the Green Mountains, roughly about Chittenden County down into Bennington County. Most of these winds now have peaked out, and but they're still blowing quite strong along the immediate western slopes of the Greens. In the meantime, we have a snowstorm. Running the models, you can see the pressure and where this area of low pressure begins to consolidate. And again, this is at the surface, or 925 millibars rather, which is about 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 feet above the ground. You can see that area of low pressure going into the Gulf of Maine here, and of course, swinging in also very colder air. Looks like the rain or mixed precipitation line more common across southeastern New England, roughly from Boston to New York City. So they've been getting rain after getting a shot of snow overnight, and also mixing a little bit of sleet in some areas where the downsloping component was also warming the temperatures adiabatically. So you get this little mix of sleet in a few spots, and that is fairly localized in the state of Vermont. Now, this area of low pressure will be tracking out of the region, taking a lot of its stronger dynamics with it. Again, this is at 925 millibars, so a little bit elevated off the valley floors. And then if we take a look at what's going on here in terms of higher aloft, looking at the 850 millibar winds, and this has been the problem for the winds blowing downslope. Here, let me run this back real quickly. You can see the axis of strongest winds blowing in from southeast. Here we were at about 4 o'clock. I think that was the maximum wind gust, the axis of strongest low-level jet. And then it looks like those downsloping winds are relaxing here. This is 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and by 9 o'clock, for the most part, it's exiting the Northeast Kingdom. Still a problem for folks over toward down East Maine, but a lot of this jet stream wind energy is going into the making of some very, very heavy snows that will be taking place across parts of Maine. Interior areas, in fact, all of the northeastern ski resorts, though, are looking pretty choice at this point. There's a little better concentration on snowfall. I'm going to run these numbers here. That would be valid time 6 o'clock this morning. You can see the lighter or darker greens here. That's the heavier snowfall totals. Notice a little bit of a downsloping or rain shadowing or snow shadowing signature now for the western slopes of the Green Mountains, excepting looks like parts of Addison County. Anyway, these snowfall rates should be continuing to come down, but they're kind of on a gradual. This is probably 8 o'clock here. You can see the lighter blue there, or the darker blue. That's more of the steadier snowfall, and we start to get into still a little bit of snow right through probably about noontime, accumulating snows, and then a little bit less in the way of accumulating snow, more flurries, and things really come to a halt. So your better travel conditions will be definitely after the noon hour, and maybe even in parts of the Champlain Valley, western Vermont, you're probably already starting to see that here this morning after about 7, 8 o'clock. Things are starting to wind down. Also, the Connecticut River Valley, that's very, very common. Downsloping off some of the whites, it'll be far less snowfall in these areas where they're getting shadowed, of course, by the stronger mountains. And taking a look at the actual snowfall since about 4 o'clock this morning. Well, this is snowfall accrued since 4 o'clock. We're looking at, again, the heaviest snows to be accumulating right across the eastern slopes of the Green Mountains, something we find typically also in the around Caledonia County, standard mountain range area. White Mountains, of course, down East Maine, coastal areas, they're going to be under the gun, and that's where they're going to pick up the most as I run the numbers here. This would be about, let's see, 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock, and finally noon. You note that a lot of the snow has accrued and things are starting to halt here for Vermont, but they're continuing, of course, into Maine, where the rest of this storm is really going to unload on those folks. And you can see that you're looking at over a foot here, pretty common down East Maine, some parts of the interior sections there. And the heavy snows continue in those locations as the storm pulls away into the Gulf of Maine. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights Consulting. Thanks for watching.